One position we could be looking to strengthen in January is that right back / right wing back role. And I guess we'll start with Wilfried Singo. I think that's how it's pronounced now. It was Wilfried Singo, now goes by Stefan Singo. So we're just going to merge it all in there and call him one name. But let's look at him as a player and what he could bring to West Ham, especially in January, because as we all know, our fullbacks are not great at the moment, and we are definitely lacking in that department. So, yeah, let's take a look at his overview. If you want to lead this one, Mike.
Yeah. So Singo plays for Torino. If you recognise the name, that's where Nikola Vlasic is currently at and potentially signing for. There is also another target at that club, or a player that has been linked quite often, who's a homegrown player, going by the name of Ola Aina. I'm pretty sure Sloth will be having some words around that link of that player, as opposed to not recognising Singo as maybe our target. But essentially, yeah, the guy's a right back. He's played predominantly as a right wing back. They deploy kind of a wing back formation most commonly. Obviously, his contract is up at the end of this year. He's attracted interest from the likes of Liverpool, but obviously with Trent, they've never obviously progressed or moved for him, because with Singo essentially wants to play, so they've not yet kind of moved for him for that kind of depth. But he's a big, strong, athletic, powerful unit on that right-hand side. Defensively, he can be a bit suspect in the sense of that he's quite aggressive and will kind of fly into tackles. But that's not necessarily always a bad thing. He looks to try and win the ball. And if you look at his defensive stats, they are a little bit down. But again, this is also part and parcel of how Torino plays. So he's less involved at times defensively in terms of being part of the press or to win the ball. He's more, his biggest focus is to provide that pace, that strength, that power down the right-hand side, in which to essentially cause havoc, which he can do because he is a impressive specimen. A 6'3" fullback. He's hard to beat in the air, strong ball carrier. He can be a bit raw and rough around the edges, but it's one of those players that if you can develop, he could be an absolute tyrant down that side. That's the best way I can kind of think about it. And when you consider that we have a right back that we're looking to move on, similar contract point, and the fact that we've obviously had a good relationship with Torino because they have absolutely done us on Vlasic with the price that they're getting him for, how well he's been doing. There's maybe a good relationship there where we could be having that conversation around, well, let's do a money plus player deal. You could probably argue that Soufal's rated at about 10 million now. So, you could maybe argue we give you 5 million plus Soufal. That will also mean that they're bringing the player straight away. So, again, Soufal's probably going to go Bundesliga if he does leave. But, again, the proposition is a worthwhile venture to kind of see if that would kind of, entice them. But also, with him being very comfortable in that right wing-back role, should we kind of stick with this role or this formation, he's a player that is incredibly adept at it, and it is his preferred kind of position. So it's not like taking Kehrer and asking him to be a right wing back, or Soufal, who's also admitted that he's a right back, really. He's not really a right wing back. And obviously Johnson, again, who's more defensively minded. So it's bringing a player who actually fits the formation. The running joke we had last year or in the summer was he makes the height kind of check. And again, he doesn't need to be homegrown because we would ultimately be losing a player that is non-homegrown as well in Soufal. So I'm going to stop there, pass over to Sloth, who's probably going to now rant about why we should not be looking at Ola Aina and be looking at Singo.
I mean, this is one of those baffling deals where you're looking at it and going, you're hearing rumours and thinking, we're linked with a Torino right back. Oh my days, is it the right Ola Aina? And you're thinking, this guy was crap at Fulham. What are we doing? We've got Vlasic on loan there. We can use them as the counterweight in the deal. It would cover the bulk of the transfer fee. and they do have an option to extend. I believe. I think they can offer. They can extend by 1 year. They haven't done it as yet, so they are obviously willing to listen to offers and see what they can get. For me, this is a total no-brainer. It's someone who gives you not only the option of that athleticism, that power and youth on that right-hand side, it's also someone who chips in with a couple of goals. He has got an absolutely wicked right foot on him, and he's comfortable using both feet as well, which for West Ham defenders is not something we're too used to. I can't overstate how much we should be looking at this player instead of Aina. It's the total no-brainer for me. The only reason that we wouldn't is the homegrown option. But if you're moving Vlasic along, then you can bring in Aina, and it's pretty easy.
Aina or Singo? You said Aina.
So no, I mean, if you can, if you're faced with the decision between the two, it's not even close. You know, he is a powerhouse, as Mike said. He is a bit rash defensively, but again, this is a guy who, if you have three at the back, you're not going to be bothered. Even if he's just the right back in a 4-3-3, then he offers you that physical outlet that you don't really need to worry too much about whether he's going to make that challenge, because he'll just bully players off the ball, and he does it all the time in Serie A. He will just nip in, win a header, it's out for a throw-in, you've got time to reset, you've got time to find the formation, or he'll just stretch out a leg and he'll win the ball back. He does it all the time. Now, occasionally he will do a Dawson and he'll clip the player, or he will just go and absolutely flatten someone, which he does quite a lot, by the way. He
does love playing 100 miles an hour.
It's like he's got one setting. It's either maximum attack or nothing. But that's the kind of thing West Ham fans love. You know, people liked Thomas Repka for some reason. This is the exact reason, except he can actually play football and he's not a total nutcase.
What do you guys think about, in terms of as a player coming in January, which is always notoriously difficult to do business? What do you think the likelihood of signing him is for a club like us and the position we're in at the moment? Do you see it being an easy deal to make, or one that's probably tougher to do in January?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, you go ahead.
Well, I think he'll know that there are big clubs after him. That kind of goes without saying, but we are a club who will give him game time, and we're a club who can offer him European football at the moment. Now, that's not something that he can be guaranteed that he will play, but also that will get European football from the off. We can do that, and also we can give him good wages. So, I mean, I think this is a deal that we can get done quite easily, particularly with that make weight of Vlasic in there. I think Torino would be happy to do business with us, and it would just be a case of, does Singo want to move to London, and is he going to be swayed by the pay packet that we potentially give him? I think that's a yes. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a position, I would say, out of most of the recruitment that we need to do in January, is a position we should be focusing on, both the left wing back or left back and right wing back or right back, because it's a position, like we mentioned in the summer, just hasn't been invested in so long. We brought in Sofal, a few seasons ago, very cheap, and it worked really well for a season. He's now, 29, 30 years old. Cresswell on the other side, equally as old, 33 now. We did sign Emerson, but that was not our top target by any means. It was very much late on in the window and, needing to bring a number in. So I think this would be a really good signing. It fits the portfolio of what we want to do. Being 22, as we mentioned, just a really interesting signing. Like you mentioned, Sloth, he's either 100 or 0, which I'm sure we would grow to love. But yeah, any final thoughts on Singo before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I think again, like we said, we're looking for longevity. One of the things that's criticised is that Johnson doesn't necessarily offer that attacking threat, but to have the ability to have two young fullbacks that can offer you something different in games where we need to be defensive, or be a bit more defensively minded. Johnson, in games where we're looking to maybe take or seize the initiative and kind of push the opposition, Singo would be a fantastic player to have in that. Obviously, there was also question marks around Johnson as well, whether he will remain, because he's not signing a contract for reasons that have yet to be kind of brought out, but you can essentially intimate it's because he's not playing enough, and when he has played well enough, he is then shafted around the pitch and then dropped in favour of experience, even though his performances have been better than those essentially ahead of him. But I think Singo in itself, at his age, with the relationship we probably got with Torino because of the Vlasic deal and how well that deal has gone, again, it's that opportunity to say, well, we will give you Vlasic, and we'll maybe take Singo and give you a little bit of money. Sure. So again, we are kind of moving around that money slightly to ensure that we're not paying that much. It's money that we were going to receive. Now we're not going to. We're just going to pay 5 million maybe, but a player's off our books. We're probably getting cheaper wages. So it's a deal that could kind of complement all. Again, there's a potential that we maybe look to maybe try and use Soufal as part of a deal. Soufal might not be interested in Italy, but again, if we're looking to move Soufal on and he's available, his contract is up, although we have a 2-year extension, why not approach that conversation? So I think it's a deal that could have legs. There are big clubs that have looked at him. They haven't moved for him as yet, because probably really he does have rawness to his game, but he's one of those players that sometimes you need to take a chance on, because if they come in and they hit the ground running, it's a player that you're going to be incredibly happy with. Jed Spence is probably a player that's quite similar in the sense of maybe not as renowned for defensively, but from an attacking point of view, he's just a pain to deal with because he is relentless, he is big, he is strong. And as a fullback, if you're having to defend against that, or even a winger, and you're quite a diminutive one, you're not really going to outpace him. You're not really going to, beat him for strength. Any diagonals, he's going to eat those up quite easily as well. So all in all, he's a player that could actually bring a lot, and he would quite fit a Moyes. I think for a manager like Moyes, he's a player that he can do things with, regardless of whether we think Moyes is going to be there for the long term. But it's a type of player that really could be developed, and if he is developed in the right way, could be an incredible wing back and could be a very solid right back as well, in my opinion.
Well, I guess we will see whether anything develops with Singo this January. Looks like it would be a smart signing and wouldn't be too costly as well. So let us know your thoughts in the comments about Singo, whether you would like to sign him or see him at West Ham. If you've seen him perform for Torino, what your thoughts are, anything we've missed, and with whether or not you have any kind of concerns about signing him, or if you have someone else in mind that you would rather see come in January for that right back or right wing back position. But yeah, we're going to leave it there. Make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe as always, and yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.